Hey there, welcome to the channel. So today I want to comment on this phenomena that's occurring in LA here. As you can see here, a picture of basically what's going on is apparently trains are being robbed. Now, these are your freight trains. These are your intermodal containers. And apparently what's happening is people are going down there with bolt cutters and they're cracking open these containers and stealing stuff. Now, what's interesting about it, and this is from the LA Times, what's interesting about this as well is that apparently they had cleaned this up already once in December, and yet it's still happening again. And as you can see, it's quite the mess. So there's a numerous stories about that, but it's definitely quite the scene. So we're going to give my thoughts on what's going on here. Hey there. So this story about these trains being robbed, I mean, it's very just reminiscent of the Wild West, right? I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, like, it seems very difficult to believe that people would just go and like crack open these intermodal cars. So basically these are the shipping containers, and the shipping containers are on these trains. Now, my assumption is what's going on is that these trains very often they have to stop, or they get parked for a few hours, or they get parked for a half day, they get put together and that type of thing, and then there might be a shift change or something like that. So my kind of assumption is at this point is that when they're not moving, that's when this is going on. And in that part of LA, coming out of the Port of Long Beach and San Pedro, there's this basically what they created is this sort of tunnel. So it's like this, the railroad tracks have their own kind of transit way that's about 10 feet or 15 feet lowered. It's like a trench. It's like a railroad trench. And that's where all the trains go. And so basically all the highways and roads pass over this trench. So it looks like what's happening is it's going on down in there. Now, the question is, why is this happening? This is a really interesting thing. I mean, I don't know that we've ever had this kind of thing happen in history before, where, well, obviously we've had train robberies and stuff, but in modern times in the US, like people have been robbing trains and it appears that they're getting away with it. One of the comments was by one of the railroad companies, the guy was talking about how, hey, look, they're just getting fines and they're not being prosecuted. And this really mirrors a lot of what we've seen in Seattle and Portland, where people get arrested and then they're not prosecuted. And there's also kind of mirrors what's happening in places like San Francisco and California in general. So what's happening in California is they did this deal where they decriminalized theft. So if your theft is below $950, something like that, they're basically it's no longer a crime, basically. I think they can still give you like a fine or something, but they're not going to prosecute it. They're not prosecuting it. And matter of fact, many of the stores are just, they're letting people steal stuff because they just don't want the hassle. And so why is this lawlessness happening? It's very interesting that when you read these reports, what happens is they talk about it. Oh, it's organized gangs of theft, of thieves and stuff, especially with the same thing that's been going on with the smash and grab robberies. Well, it seems like part of this could be the case, but I think there's something maybe a little more insidious going on here. And so I'd like to comment on that. So the narrative out there portrayed by this group of people, and some of them on our legislator, et cetera, is that, hey, these companies are bad. They're not paying any taxes. They're not paying their fair share. The rich are not paying their fair share. So what does that do? Do I think like the Bernies and the AOCs are like telling people to go rob trains? No, of course not. However, they're portraying this narrative that you've been wronged. They're portraying this narrative that just because a company makes some money, that they're evil and they're bad, and that there's a wrong there that needs to be set right. And so if you look at it, what is that going to do? I mean, what really is that going to do? You certainly will have a certain group of people that are like, look, they're literally Robin Hood. They're like, look, I'm going to steal from the rich and give to the poor. Well, in this case, they're not giving to the poor. They're just taking advantage of it and stealing it. And I'm sure they're trying to sell the stuff on eBay or wherever they can sell it, on Craigslist or whatever. They're just taking advantage of the situation. But the reason you're having this is because you have this group of the politicians in the extreme left that have just thrown out any sense of morals. It's like, okay, it's okay to steal. It's okay to rob. It's okay to do these things if it's against the bad guys, which who will tell you who the bad guys are. And in our case, it's the rich and it's the big corporations. So that's the mentality. So in essence, when you look at things where you see this kind of a mess where you have stores getting robbed, and especially high-end stores, that's part of it as well. It's like, oh, well, of course you want to go and like raid Tiffany's because, oh, those bad rich people, they don't, you don't want them to be able to buy their nice purses or whatever. Oh, we're gonna, Amazon is shipping all these packages through these um, trains, so we're going to go rob the trains. And I would say, and I would not be surprised that some of the people doing this, like there's probably several different groups. There's, first of all, there's like people that are organized large groups that, are kind of, they're just professional criminals, right? There's that group. And then there's probably another group that's of people that are like mad and they do it because there's an opportunity there. But there's a group as well that I bet, and I would bet money on this, that feel that they're justified in doing this, that feel that they're Robin Hood, that feel that they're righting a wrong by literally cracking open train cars and robbing them. And it's an incredibly dangerous thing because, first of all, what are you getting here in California? You're getting lawlessness. That's what this is. And this lawlessness is hurting everyone. Okay. So, everyone, so all these packages, well, if you were so and so and you ordered food or you ordered whatever that's being shipped on these trains and well, your package is lost. It's like, okay, well, you didn't get your package, et cetera, et cetera. And it's an inconvenience to you. But also what's happening in San Francisco, you can read about this as well, is many stores are closing, like especially like CVS is, there's had this attention where they close like 5 or 6 stores. And matter of fact, every time you go back, it's like they're closing more stores and they're doing it because of the theft. And so what's happening? Well, they're in the same boat. It's like, look, people come in and steal, and you can see the video of this. They go ahead and steal stuff, and the security at the store won't even stop them because like they're told not to stop them. Because why? Because they don't want a conflict. The owners don't want a conflict. But the consequence is that they have to close the stores. They're getting robbed blind and they have to close the store. And then the people in the neighborhood are complaining. It's like, well, hey, and I feel sorry for the people in the neighborhood. You have like, there's an interview with this like politician, and the politician is like, well, they need to reconsider because where are people going to get their prescriptions and all this? And we need this in our neighborhood. It's like, okay. And then it's funny. They're talking to a lady on the street. She's like, well, do you know how much they've been robbing this place? They're just going in there with suitcases and robbing it every day. So that's kind of where we're at with this. So I think it's a sign of a bigger picture. And it's really something, I mean, it's interesting because I don't know what people feel like on the East Coast. I just have this feeling that some parts of the country look to California as an example of how to do things. And they may look to things like bail bond reform, this kind of reform where you kind of like basically legalize small amounts of theft. And if you're in another part of the country and you're thinking that this is a way to solve or right some wrong or to make the system more fair, I can assure you it's not. It's not working. Are there problems with these systems? Do we need reform? Do we need bail reform? Sure. I was watching this episode on Rikers Island. You have people doing 4 years of time that haven't even been convicted. That's wrong. It's just wrong. But the counter is, do you just let people legalize stealing? That hurts everyone. That's what it is. So I just wanted to comment on that. You can leave your comments in the below. Tell me what you think about this. But I would expect more of this, a lot more, because it's the attitude. The attitude now is like, it's a Robin Hood attitude. We're literally, because we have identified you as the bad person or the bad group. So whether you didn't get the medicine or you're a big corporation or you're viewed as being rich, then it's okay to steal from you. It's okay to rob from you. That's kind of the view. And it's really amazing because this is what many in the media portray. They literally portray this view and play this narrative and justify this narrative. And I can tell you, it's a really dangerous narrative because if you take a person that feels like, hey, it's okay to go ahead and rob a train car, okay, fine. Well, what if there was a security guard there? What if there was a train driver there? Do you feel justified in shooting them with a gun? Stabbing him, beating him to death? Oh, is it justified then? When is it not justified? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's never justified. All right, that's it for this one. Bye.